All right, y'all, we've been so fixated on Image for the last several weeks, several months, one might say. It's going to be refreshing to kind of go back to how we all started, and it's time for one of our favorite bits here. It's time for Marvel in the 90s. And tonight we're talking about Death by Tombstone, a 3-part Spider-Man story written by Stephen Grant. Oh, Stephen Grant, you know. It's me, you mate. I'm Moon Knight and Mr. Knight. Anyway, Stephen Grant, not Moon Knight, but Stephen Grant, with artwork by Sal Buscema, lettering by Joe Rosen, coloring by Ben Sharon. And I'm excited to get into this. So, because Sal Buscema was an artist I didn't really like that much as a kid. This is Spectacular Spider-Man's immediate follow-up to Maximum Carnage. I was so into Maximum Carnage at the time that I continued following these Spider-Man books for a while. And I vividly remember this Tombstone story, and I vividly remember loving it. And I was going through some comics the other day at work, and these books were in it, and I was like, let me go dig out my old issues. Let's reread this. Let's dig into some Sal Buscema artwork and revisit the first time I ever learned who Tombstone was. So Tombstone shows up, and he's bigger and badder than ever. Now, I have very limited experience with this character before. This was the first time I'd ever seen Tombstone in a comic, so I didn't know much about him, but I feel like at this point something had happened and he leveled up, or at least that's the idea. Stephen Grant's being recognized as the new writer of the book, a new direction, a new series. Sal Buscema, though, still doing the artwork. When he did the artwork on the Maximum Carnage issues, I didn't like it. The more and more I revisit his work, the more and more I love it. He is the inker on here. Of course, he's famous for being an inker, a fantastic inker, but I love his stuff. I really, really do. I didn't like it when I was a kid, but it started winning me over. This time, really fascinated with his line markings. All right. So Tombstone shows up to Hammerhead's office, and he's like, yo, I'm new and improved. I got unbreakable skin. You can't do nothing to me, and I'm going to take you out. So Hammerhead tries to put him in his place. Dude, he gets murked by Tombstone. He breaks his leg. He breaks his wrist. He's like, I'm the new boss now, and he takes over Hammerhead's operation in a very quick and efficient way. Then we cut to the reading of Harry Osborn's will. Right before Maximum Carnage started in Spectacular Spider-Man 200, Harry Osborn had died. And this is the reading of the will. They're playing a videotape. Harry Osborn's there. He gives his money and his company to his wife and his kid. He gives Peter Parker a box, but he has to put on the Green Goblin costume before he does it. And there's just a lot of drama going on, and I remember this from when I was a kid. For months and months and months, they just lingered on this death of Harry Osborn and how much it was fucking Peter in the head and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, man. It's melodramatic, but I like it. So Spider-Man swinging around. He's got this thing. It's supposed to open on its own at some point, but he forces it open. It's a sign that says, gotcha. This convinces him that Harry Osborn is in fact still alive. Now, in reality, Harry Osborn was alive. He was whisked away to where his father, who was also alive, was in Europe to heal, to come back later on. But at the time, the intention was that he was actually dead. This is him just fucking with his head. Then we cut to Tombstone. So Tombstone now is not... So he's taken over Hammerhead's operation, but he still has to get the Council of the Mafia or whatever to approve him to have a seat at the table. This dude shows up and is like, yeah, we're not going to accept you. And Tombstone just is not having that. So he's starting to devise this plan of how to make them take him a little bit more seriously. Then we cut to Liz Osborn, grieving widow. Spider-Man shows up and starts being like, your husband's still alive and he's fucking with me, and just totally distressing her. Mary Jane shows up. It's like, this woman's in grief. What are you doing? There's a lot of heavy melodrama going on in Spider-Man at this time. And it started in the late 80s. It's continuing on here, but I don't know. When I was a kid, I thought it was fun. It was compelling. Meanwhile, the dude that didn't approve Tombstone to be part of this quiet council of the Mafia, he runs a club. Tombstone shows up with his goons, and he's going to take out this club. And shit starts going down, yo. You get all kinds of action and violence. Sal Buscema does such a great job of just telling this story, doing things by the book, doing it traditionally, but at the same time doing little flourishes here and there. Simple line work, but it's deceptively simple. This dude had years of comic book experience under his belt, and of course, a powerhouse family along with his brother John. A really great thing. Spider-Man sees the explosion. It's a big distraction. It's what he needs. So he's going to go and figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, he's trying to save all these people that are in this apartment building. He's got people throwing shit on him. What I loved about this, too, was, especially in the revisit, even though there's all this melodramatic, heavy shit happening, Spider-Man, when he's Spider-Man saving people, he's still quippy. He's still fun. He's still doing all that stuff. So, Tombstone, in the midst of all this rubble, is trying to get away, finds these paramedics, gets stopped by this dude Flash Thompson. Oh, we know Flash Thompson. That's Peter's friend. And we get a cliffhanger with him about to take on Flash Thompson. Then we move into issue 205, where he's about to fight Flash Thompson. We get another Bugle photographer taking some shots of Spider-Man. That sets up a backup story that is going to be revealed here. Every shot of Spider-Man here, just great, so graceful. Sal Buscema it just looks so unfair how simple it seems like this is to him. He makes it look so incredibly easy. Flash Thompson's about to get got by Tombstone, but Spider-Man shows up just in the nick of time to scare Tombstone off and take Flash to the hospital. He then goes and finds Mary Jane. She realizes that he's in distress, so she cooks him some breakfast, and he starts talking about all of his problems, and then Felicia Hardy comes in, Black Cat. At this time, Felicia is dating Flash Thompson, and she's like, bro, you didn't even tell me that my boyfriend was attacked by Tombstone? Like, I found out, like, not from you. So she's, like, super mad. She's like, you don't even know me anymore. You're Spider-Man. I'm Black Cat to you. I'm no longer Felicia. So, like, she's super mad and all that stuff. Mary Jane realizes, oh, I thought she was just dating Flash to be close to you, but she actually loves this dude. Peter's got a really wide collar on that shirt. By the way, I guess this is 1993, so it makes sense. Liz shows up and says, yo, we're selling all of Harry's stuff. We're just taking the money. We're going to Montana. We sold this building. Y'all got to leave in 30 days. Sorry. Deuces. Got to find your own place. Meanwhile, Tombstone goes back to the place to talk to this council. They're like, yo, you can't attack. You can't. We took your offer into consideration. We said we don't accept you. You got to earn your dues here. You can't just go in and terrorize someone's club and expect us we're gonna listen to you. You can't manipulate the mafia council by force. Well, that's exactly what Tombstone's trying to do. And they wind up working out a deal. They're like, tell you what, you kill Spider-Man, we'll let you have a seat at the table. So he decides he's going to go off and do that. Meanwhile, this dude's brought in some pictures of Spider-Man. He's ripping open this window because he's saving this little girl, but it looks like he's causing property damage. And so J. Jonah Jameson's going to run the story. Peter's like incensed by that. So he leaves before he punches the dude out. So you get a little bit of a quick Bugle scene right there. And then Black Cat goes after Tombstone and his people. So she's fighting him, and Spider-Man shows up. Now, Spider-Man had put a tracker on her, knowing that she was going to go after Tombstone. I think that actually happens in this scene. I don't think it's happened yet. But he shows up. Black Cat's starting to get her ass kicked by Tombstone, but Spider-Man's there to help her out, kind of save the day a little bit. But Tombstone starts getting the upper hand. His dude's got some firepower, and they're able to actually put the handle on Spider-Man. There's a really cool moment here where him and Spider-Man fly out of this building. Tombstone's like, yo, I'm going to survive this. They fall into the bay or whatever. Black Cat's knocked out. You think Spider-Man's coming up, but it's actually Tombstone. And, dude, he just killed Spider-Man. Dun, dun, dun. Maybe not, right? Anyway, so then we got this little backup story called Taps. And J. Jonah Jameson centric. And it's this dude that took the picture. And it's kind of silly. It doesn't really do much, but we'll get to this. But he's trying to like use this picture to put Spider-Man in a bad light again. And he goes and takes everybody out to this cheap dinner. And the waitress tells him that everybody thinks the Bugle's a joke, and it kind of pisses him off. And he kind of does it. He like loses it. And then he goes out, and then his wife calls Joe Robertson and is like, Robbie, he's not here. And he's not shown up. So anyway, then we move to the next issue. This is the conclusion of Death by Tombstone. So we got Tombstone thinking himself is victorious. And so he's like, I'm going to take this mask, and I'm going to prove that I killed Spider-Man, and I'm going to have my seat at the table, and I'm a crime lord now. And then Black Cat wakes up, and she fights him a little bit. She gets a little bit of licks in, but then she goes and dies after Spider-Man. Tombstone then makes his escape. Spider-Man is there. He was knocked out, but he does wake up and winds up saving Black Cat, who was there to save him. He tells her, stay out of this. I'm going to take your mask because I need to hide my identity. Bro, that doesn't hide anybody's identity. This is where he puts the spider tracer on her. So he goes back home, talks to Mary Jane. They have their little moment here. She's talking about how she's got like an inside scoop on a nice apartment. Maybe they need to like rent to buy or something like that. So some family drama. Tombstone shows up to the council. He's like, yo, I killed Spider-Man. And they're like, yo, we don't believe you. We're not going to allow you a seat at the table. He's just so pissed off. He starts tearing ass. Black Cat shows up. Spider-Man shows up. He throws this dude out the window. Spider-Man saves him. Turns out Spider-Man's not dead. He put a tracker on Black Cat, so he's able to trace her to where Tombstone is. And then we get into the big final act of this big bombastic Tombstone Spider-Man fight. Illustrated by Sal Buscema. So they have this pretty cool fight. It's going well. Not as exciting as one of the other ones, but it does kind of develop. You got some nice Black Cat. I love the way Sal Buscema does Black Cat. The way she moves across the page, it works really, really well. Some more of the fighting scene. Some nice quips from Spider-Man. Some great poses. Not a lot of repeated poses. Buscema has a great understanding of form and movement. Tombstone's like, a fall from this height's not even going to kill me, so I'm just going to jump out this building with you and kill you. But Spider-Man twists him around. He lands first. They both survive it. And Spider-Man's just getting his ass kicked. Spider-Man can't do anything. And then, very simply, he puts everything into every one last shot because he webs up his hand, gives himself a web boxing glove, puts everything into one shot, and it's not enough. Tombstone's a little shaky, but and then Tombstone just passes the fuck out. Just passes the fuck out, and that's the end of the thing. And Black Cat's like, thanks for saving me. I'm still fucking mad at you, bro. Don't talk to me. So there you go. Then we get this tap story where J. Jonah Jameson is out feeling sorry for himself because the waitress didn't take his book seriously. He's getting mugged by this guy. And then he's like, hey, do you read my paper? And the dude's like, I wouldn't read that trash for anything. So he punches the guy out. And then he goes and talks to this dude, and the guy's like, yeah, your paper's, you're not doing a good job there. And then it's like, he's like sad about it. Concludes next issue. What? How do we got a 3-part story? And then on the second issue, you have a damn backup story that's also a 3-parter, but not in the 3 issues? Anyway. So overall, I really enjoyed this revisit. Like I said, I had these because I continued reading the Spider-Man books for a while after Maximum Carnage. Amazing Spider-Man's the one that I stuck with, but I did enjoy this. At the time, I didn't really like Sal Buscema's artwork, but man, I love it now. He's able to show so much action, so much emotion, so much movement, and he makes it look so easy. So freaking easy. All the faces look different, and I remember at the time thinking everything looked boxy, and that everybody kind of had the same face, but it's not true. His Green Goblin is amazing. I love it. So this was fun to revisit. The coloring is really good. They have pretty much at this point nailed what coloring these comics are on newsprint, what they're going to produce as. I really liked it. We got some cool ads. That's one of my favorite pages right there. That's just a great pose. And I love that Sal never puts Spider-Man in like the same pose over and over. Like Kayfabe just did a video on a Spider-Man annual where, look at that, y'all. That game, y'all remember that Spider-Man X-Men game? So Kayfabe just did a video of the Spider-Man annual that Rob Liefeld did, and Rob Liefeld drew Spider-Man in the same pose like 6 different times in that damn book. You don't get that from Sal Buscema, and I bet he was cranking that shit out way faster. Look at Steve Young right there. It's pretty dope. I love these old ads. Look, there's an ad for Nightmare for Christmas. But it was a nice, fun kind of thing. I remember the name Stephen Grant, Saved by the Bell, y'all. But I can't really place him as doing anything else in comics that I would remember. I love the coloring on Tombstone, the white, but they have those light blue highlights. It really freaking works. Like I said, love his Black Cat. This big fight right there. This backup story is kind of whack. I mean, I get the point. I think he's trying to set up some stuff that he wants to do. Y'all, remember that? They actually reproduced that. All right, now this is the one that's got some dope-ass ads. First of all, this oatmeal Kids' Choice. I remember this shit. I used to eat this all the time. Strawberries and stuff was my jam. Absolutely. Great artwork, great line work, great coloring. Solid story. It's not going to change your life. Brax rocks. Basically like soft candy gummy rocks. So weird. Anyway, love this book. It was a nice, fun revisit. I don't think I stuck with Spectacular Spider-Man at all after this. I think I just read this Tombstone story and was done, but I was always excited and fascinated by this Tombstone character, and since he was appearing in recent issues of Spider-Man, I thought it would be nice to kind of go back, and this was my first Tombstone story, and I think it's fun. You can find these super cheap at your comic book shops. Great solid 3 issues. You're going to have a backup story that doesn't quite conclude. But overall, I would give that 3.5. You digs? If you guys read that story, if you remember it, I know a lot of people have this in their collection, especially if you were into Spider-Man at that time, reading Maximum Carnage. You probably continued on for a while like I did. But it was a really fun revisit. So I'm glad I did. And that has been Marvel in the 90s.